So we're going to start talking about inverse functions and what it is and three ways to find an inverse or three representations of an inverse. So this would be page 24. So what is an inverse? An inverse function is going to be a function that undoes a function. So if the original function adds 4, an inverse would subtract 4. It's going to take everything backwards to where it originally was. So the three ways we're going to look at an inverse is at a table, a graph, and an equation. With a table, if you have a table of values, xy values, maybe it's a doubling function, so the values 1, 2, 3 go to 2, 4, 6. The function, that would be the function values, can be turned into inverse values by switching the x and y. So if the y's now are the x's, and the x's are now the y's, you can see that instead of doubling, when you move across, they cut them in half. So if you do that, it's going to undo whatever went on from going from x to y, now undoes from x to y. So for here, you would just say switch x and y values. Okay. Graphically, if you have some function, I'm going to do this equation. If you reflect it across the inverse line, this inverse line happens to be the equation y equals x. If you take this function and reflect it, that would be the inverse of it. So again, it's reflected over the line y equals x, so it's taking every ordered pair on this line, switching the x and y values, and the result is a reflection across that line. So this would be the function, this would be the inverse. So reflect across line y equals x. So that's a graphical representation. Same thing that's happening with the table, but a different look. An equation, again, you're going to switch x and y. And to simplify an equation, you just solve for y. So sometimes you don't need to go through the process, and it's easy to see what the inverse would be. Like if I said x plus 4 and asked you for the inverse, well, you'd say, though, the opposite of plus 4 would be minus 4. So these are inverses of each other because it takes an x value, adds 4 to it, takes that x value, and then subtracts 4. So it would go right back to the original. Sometimes they're harder. Like if you had 2x minus 1, if there's two things going on, you know, the 2x and then the minus 1, sometimes it does work nicer to do the steps. So the steps would be switch the x and y, so now this is an x, and this is a y, and then you're going to solve for y. So add 1, divide by 2, so the inverse would be this, x plus 1 all over 2.